Hello everybody, welcome to the Tokusatsu Network at the YouTube space in Tokyo. I am Tom Constantine.
And I am Kuni. How are you?
Today we're going to start a new series about revisiting old Kamen Rider movies. We thought this would be a bit fun for older fans that may have not watched the movie for maybe 10 years or something like that, and for new fans that can learn something new and maybe see it through our eyes as well.
There is a permanent spoiler warning. We're going to talk about 10-year-old movies, 20-year-old movies, etc. So yes, you should have seen it before you watch it.
We would like to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed and watches every single video we do. We are not the biggest channel, but we have a really dedicated viewership, and we are really thankful for everybody for watching. It is thanks to you guys that we're now here at the YouTube space, filming with these nice, lovely equipment. So thank you so much. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Here maybe? So the first movie we're going to talk about is Kamen Rider Agito, Project G4.
This Tom did in about 20 minutes, copying from his smartphone. I think he should be given credit for it, because I think it's far greater than what I expected.
I don't want to start off egotistically, but I'm pretty proud of this image.
No, and it's good, look at it.
Thank you very much. You may know that Project G4 is the first Heisei Kamen Rider movie, but it's not the first Heisei Kamen Rider show. The first is obviously Kuga. So before we can talk about this, we should talk about why there is no Kuga movie.
We had access to a projection of the documentary of the anniversary box set of Kuga.
The Blu-ray box.
The Blu-ray box, that's right. And there was a very lengthy interview with the director, with the cast, with the producer, about what Kuga was. And, well, one of the first liners and something that really stuck was that a Kuga movie was practically undoable at that time. Talks about the movie had come up. It had become a tradition, of course. There was I mean, it was not only about making a movie because it was good, but it's a Kamen Rider, we should do a movie about it. But there were many circumstances that said, but what about? What we cannot do this character justice. We cannot do this story justice in just a movie. And what would we be telling if it's all in there in the series?
People don't think about it, but at the time there was no Rider movies that came out with the series in the Heisei period. It was the very first Heisei Rider show, so there were no rules. There was no summer movies, there was no superhero Taisens, there was no crossover movies, no V cinemas or anything like that. The idea of making a movie during Kuga obviously probably came up, but they just didn't have the system of moving forward with a movie at the time. So when the show finished, in the Kuga, it doesn't have an English title, but the book, the Super Collection,
the Chozenshu
magazine, Takutora, the producer of the show, and Odagurijo, who played Kuga, said that they are now working towards making a movie happen, but they don't have a release date or anything like that. They're just going towards it. So Agito comes out, the Agito movie comes out, Ryuki comes out, the Ryuku movie comes out, still no Kuga. And then eventually, Takutora, in a blog post, apologized to fans and said that it just didn't come, and because he couldn't quite get the funding for it and he couldn't quite get the ball rolling. He did say that he actually went to Kadokawa for a meeting about getting funding, but
to a rival studio.
Yeah, somehow. But it just didn't bear any fruit. So that is why we have no Kuga movie.
And that's why we're starting with Agito.
Yeah, which is a shame, but when Kuga ends in the TV show, it's ended.
I don't need a Kuga movie.
No.
I think the series does close, has a good story. I think it served its purpose.
Do you feel like we needed an Agito movie? Let's get into Agito.
Okay, yes, okay.
Project G4. So, straight off the bat, when was the last time you watched this? Before we rewatched it for this, 7 years ago, something like that. I think I roughly have about 7 years, maybe, that I haven't watched it. And watching it, I wondered if I'd ever watched it, because I couldn't remember anything about the plot or the characters or anything.
It's such a forgettable movie, and it's such a shame, because, I mean, the positive points...
So, you didn't like it then?
No. It was quite boring. I found it quite boring.
I want to disagree with you because we can have two different opinions on it. But I was pretty bored watching it. It was the first Heisei Kamen Rider movie, but there wasn't anything theatrical about it. I found
it was like a long. They could have done this in a 2-parter, 3-parter, maybe.
It could have just been like a couple of episodes. Yeah. Or 4 episodes maybe at max.
Well, but you have this new character, the Project G4 Rider.
Yes. Do you remember his name?
Mizuki. The man in the suit was Mizuki.
Do you remember more than me?
That was because I read the kanji in the credits afterwards. Because I just was curious about how they wrote it. What a haircut the guy had. He was a military man, remember?
He was a military man. He was good looking. He was good looking under that G4 helmet. The helmet of G4 is a prototype design for G3X.
The upgraded version of the G3 suit. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it's just one they didn't go with, and they ended up giving to G4 instead. Should we start from the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of Esper kids with psychic abilities that can spin stuff. One kid can see the future, and then she sees the future of them being attacked by monsters, which then happens and everybody gets murdered. All the kids as well. All the children dies.
That first sequence, you see at least 6-7 children.
Yeah.
Well, not be murdered right there, but that's what happens.
You can kind of see them being
cornered into.
And then they talk later about how everybody died.
I need to mention, because of the Overlord design is one of my favorites. In general, it's very fitting to the theme, and that little trope of how they kill their victims with an impossible method.
Yes.
In this case, you spray them with water and you have them drown, even if they're on dry land. You can see the bubbles coming. That was really, really frightening, really effective.
That was pretty horrific to watch when they did it to the teacher in the opening fight.
The hallway.
Yeah, that was pretty. That wasn't good.
No, but the sequence was good. Was a very shocking, intriguing introduction into the story.
It was certainly a good way to start the movie, I feel. Then G3 turns up, and he spends a very long time taking out one of those grunts. But then later in the film, he's just like chopping them all down. Like, it wasn't any problem. They made 10 of those monster suits.
10 without including the queen.
Without including the queen, they made 10 of them. Which is good because it does give a swarm-like feeling to them.
And the montage, the CG work was not bad.
It wasn't bad, like the green screen. They also use a lot of camera trickery, and I'm sure there's a fight later on where they've got G4, G3X, Agito, and Gills, and I'm sure some of those monsters would run off screen, run behind the camera, and then reappear.
Yeah. That's something that we have seen in action, and they just do that. You hit them, they roll around, they just come running behind the camera and come out of another.
Yes. I've done that in filming.
Movie magic.
Yeah, I've done that. Where you just get on the ground and just roll. Barrel roll, get up and run around again.
That's why you don't see any of them lying around, just dead.
That's why all the monsters explode afterwards.
Yeah, that's a good way to get rid of the remains.
Yeah. So we're introduced to the two children of the film.
The movie children.
Whose names I still don't remember.
Sayaka, the girl was named Sayaka, the boy, I don't remember.
She can see the future. He can...
attack? Well, he's like telekinetic or something?
Make people have heart attacks.
Oh, something like that.
He's a horrible kid right at the beginning. I didn't like him much.
And he does his great face when he does it like...
He bumps into Gills while he's trying to fleece an old man out of some money. So that kid is on the road to being a great adult.
I mean, you see it. Gills, he interrupts the kid while trying to telekinetically either hurt or kill the man and get his wallet.
Yes, so he can go to the convenience and buy himself a bento box. Yeah.
But he makes friends with this kid after he understands him and the pain he is in. They become friends. They're in a little abandoned house with the mattresses. It always happens the same way.
It's a bowling alley. It's a bowling alley.
An abandoned bowling alley.
Yeah. He's turning the bowling pin around. Yeah.
With his powers, that's right.
So before that, Gills has a fight with one of the ants. The henshin's pretty cool because it's like Gills appears in front of him. Is it catching a punch or throwing a punch?
Yeah, he does like that, and it's Gills who catches it.
Yeah.
and then he becomes it. I mean, did they do the same in the series, like having Gills appear on another plane and then just have them merge?
Gills' henshin is quite different to Agito's henshin.
It's very organic, and it's also...
Yeah, they would do a lot of that kind of camera switch between one to the other kind of, effect. Whereas Agito is a bit more traditional,
right.
flash, transform. And G3 is like, one leg, two leg, three. Helmet.
They didn't show G4 suiting up, did they?
Maybe I'm confusing the shots where he takes the helmet off. But he might put the helmet on at one point. I think later in the film, I think he puts the helmet on.
Because that's the charm of the G3 suit. The fact that you need to
it looks
in the van. All that concept is great. I think
it's so
fun.
Good.
And it's very toyetic. You want those toys, the Gatling gun and the attachments and the battery things and all that. I got a new appreciation for the toyetic, in a very positive way, the toyetic nature of the gimmicks that the riders have.
The first appearance of Agito is 25 minutes into the movie, despite there being 3 or 4 action scenes by that point. It's okay. The harbour, there's cargo tanks, and they're fighting on top and stuff. And then a helicopter appears, which is, I think, probably the highlight of the movie, that scene. And then G4 is on it, jumps down, has a fight. He has a rocket launcher. That's really awesome.
Massive rocket. Four rockets. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's oversized, but actually probably the right.
Yeah,
size,
but like fits the
Yeah.
Very traditional docks scene in Kamen Rider.
Yeah. If you hadn't watched Project G4, you'd probably know it from the Decade movie where he uses it against Jay when he's supersized. Like, I feel like that's a lot of people. That's probably the only time they've actually seen that rocket launcher.
It works for exterior shots. Also, reminded me a lot of Kamen Rider Black. They love to shoot in docks as well, among containers, or the first couple of episodes of the Go-Go 5.
Probably my favourite shot of the movie then appears where the helicopter lands behind G4, just as he's taking off the helmet.
Yeah, that was great.
And that was really good. Mana-chan, she gets kidnapped because for some reason she has stronger Esper powers than the
and she's the type of Esper that they want, because the G4 project, or the G4 suit, has this precognitive function, and that allows him to foresee the movements of the enemy so that he can then act accordingly. So these men are in these crystal coffins, and they all die because of the strain that the suit puts on them. And that's why the fatal flaw, and that's the reason that the G4 project stopped being developed, and it was sealed. But we have this new character in the movie, from the military, not the police, that takes over the project. And I quote it because she stole the project.
Yes, she steals it, implements it into G4, and gets it fully functional, but still kills the user. I really like that character. And I thought it was a bit of a shame she was only in the movie. Because I thought she was quite conniving and pretty well acted and could have just been in the show and given a bit more trouble for the Project G3 team. Yeah. You say you talked about her actress.
Yeah, she's a very very well established actress actually, and she normally plays this very histrionic villainesses in dramas and stuff. So it was very fitting for the character because she's like scheming and evil and ambitious. Yeah. That was a very good point of the movie. That character was fun.
She was one of the highlights of the film.
Yeah.
Diamond in the rough. So she gets kidnapped. G3X and Agito go to save her. Then you have the fight with G3X and G4. G4 beats him. The fight I thought was a bit... But it was filmed really nice because it was filmed at night, and then they had the helicopter and the light, and it looked really cool. And then... I mean, pretty much at that point, it just then leads into the final scene of Agito Gills raiding the base because it's got attacked by the ants and the queen one, which then made me realize one of the problems of the film is there's no villain in the film. There's
it's
no
more of
villain
a
for
conflict, yeah, because they are not that. Well, the villain would be the military woman.
Yes. Well, she would be more like the antagonist.
Well, okay,
She's
okay,
more of an
that's the point.
antagonist than
Right,
an actual villain. And the movie didn't have a proper villain, which I think is why maybe I got a bit bored, because I thought halfway through, why were the kids killed? Why were this? It's like, oh yeah, the Lords kill people with Esper powers because they don't want humans to evolve. So, I mean, it's fine for the show when you're doing a Monster of the Week, but you needed a little bit extra thing on this
Probably
one.
that's why that's why it just feels better to transfer that storyline into a blog in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is no main conflict, let's say. Well, because Project G4. I mean, it's the suit, but then the conflict with the suit is not that developed either.
Yes, which then leads into the big kind of climactic battle. Gills gets his arm chopped off. I mean, poor guy. Like, the amount of bad stuff that happens to him, gets his arm cut off.
That's
it's
also
pretty gruesome.
tradition. Yeah. Though one thing I wish they had paid attention to is when he has the stump.
Yeah.
You can clearly see the stump is just filled with foam or something. It just goes like that.
Oh, really? I didn't notice that while watching.
No, yes, there were some little things that just suspended my disbelief. Probably that's why I got bored, because I started getting picky with the technicalities and stuff. But I don't know.
Well, because then the Queen arrived, and I thought, she's gonna unveil her big evil plan. Oh yeah, the Lords don't actually do any of that, did they?
No.
They just kind of killed they just killed Espers indiscriminately. So she was just there to kill.
We'll continue the work of the Overlords. Not really much.
Yeah, so the fight kind of lost a bit of meaning. Gills gets up. Gills turns into Exceed Gills, which was 3 episodes earlier than the TV show, because episode 34 aired.
When the movie came out, yeah.
Well, the movie came out on Saturday, and then episode 34 aired on the Sunday, which was actually the introduction of Burning Form, which is in the movie. So you actually get introduced to Burning Form and also Shining Form for the first time, way before the TV show. So you actually get to see 3 different forms.
And the toy, the blade that comes.
Yeah, that opens up and kind of stuff.
I really like that last sequence, though. And I liked it because it reminded me of stage shows. I don't know if it happened to you. How they, there was a lot of scaffolding. Mm-hmm. And that effect of the Overlords, how the lighting effect that you have. There is a color lighting following them.
Yeah.
When you have so many around you, there were so many lights. And they use mirrors, apparently, for that. And it really looked much like a stage show. And I don't know, I found it very fun.
I actually really agree with you now that thinking about that. Yeah, because it's one long shot of all the riders kind of fighting. Jumping around.
And it's scaffolding with the tubes and the boards, etc. in a big warehouse thing.
So Agito, Shining Form, takes out the Queen. Mm-hmm. She's done. And then G4 is run out of a reason to fight, but continues to fight because that's the path he's chosen or something.
Well, it's the conversation that he had with Makoto about, I am burdened with death, and Makoto is... Because there is a contrast between G4, they are in polar opposites, Agito and G4. G4 is all about death. He talks about it. Agito, Tsugami Shoichi is all about life. And Makoto talks about how he's trapped in the middle. He cannot be that positive, he cannot be that negative. And, now that he has lost his reason to fight, Mizuki tells Makoto, because that's another interesting thing. The big confrontation, the drama of the movie was between G3 and G4, between Makoto and Mizuki. Shoichi was just happened to be there, which I found very interesting.
Yes, and Gills just happened to be in pain the entire movie. It's pretty normal for him.
But I like the way they treated his storyline without interfering. They gave him his spotlight.
He hanged out with the boy, yeah.
And then Mizuki dies inside the suit.
Which I thought was fine, because he's not on the TV show, so you knew that he wasn't going to turn up there. But then they sort of flipped it on its head, because they were talking about the suit occasionally stopped moving and then moved by itself. And then he starts to get up, and you're like, oh, It's going to be like a full-on fight, no holds bar. And then G3X just goes, no, I'm doing this, and just shoots him in the head. And they're like,
however, and that's something that maybe the Japanese fandom got better because of the the language barrier. That line that Makoto says before shooting him.
I don't remember the line.
Mo idaro.
Yeah.
That line is very charged, emotionally charged. It's actually a famous quote of the movie, because it makes a lot of sense about the conversation that they have. It's enough, Mom, don't. Even though he was talking to a dead body, it was about fighting. It was about all this violence, all this death. And then the suit wanted to fight more, even though the operator was dead. That suit had no will.
Yes, which essentially in English means that's enough.
That's enough, that no more.
I wasn't actually angry or anything. I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty interesting choice. Because they kind of set up the idea that like maybe G4 is going to be like, okay, I believe you now, and then dies, and then his dead body is used as a suit to move around and fight, which would have been good as well. But
it's dark, it's bizarre, it's painful, it's sad, very sad.
I was just a little disappointed something kind of that good was at the end of this.
But talking about it makes me, give it a bit more value than I thought I would give before doing this review together with you, because that's, I think, in my opinion, the highest point in general of the movie.
Yes.
At least when I was watching it.
Yeah, I liked that last bit, because his helmet's kind of messed up and like his arm's a bit.
Oh yeah, the way the eye that got like sunk in with the punch.
That's good.
Well, broken helmet scenes are always a delight to see.
And so that is the end of the movie.
But then we have the detail of that final premonition that Nana has.
Yes, the foreshadowing of the TV show. About
I wonder
Agito dying.
I wonder what that felt for someone without context.
Maybe if you're watching Agito for the first time and then you watch the movie last, which I know a lot of people, they tend to watch the TV show, then watch the movies.
Yeah.
And they don't quite get that you're meant to watch it at a certain point. So you would have been like, ooh, Agito gonna die. Also, there is one special guest who appears in the movie. Who is that? Who is that guy?
They say. No, it's Hiroshi Fujioka himself, the first Kamen Rider. That was probably because it was the 30th anniversary movie, commemorative movie for the Kamen Rider series, and the 50th anniversary commemorative movie, well, one of the 50th anniversary commemorative movies for Toei, being 50 years old.
Yes.
So Hiroshi Fujioka makes a cameo as a police chief.
Yeah, he's like the superintendent, or whatever the American equivalent is.
Very fittingly not named.
And he says to Agito, you take care of things from now on, do what I can't, or something along those lines.
Out of context, really, because...
yeah, it's a bit weird. In the credits, he's not named. In an interview afterwards, he did say that they intentionally left it like that, so that you could possibly think that it's Hongo Takashi
himself.
And he just isn't a rider anymore, or whatever, and you can think of it that way if you want to. And that's the first time he has appeared in a rider product, like a TV show or a movie, since Kamen Rider Stronger, the Seven Riders movie.
Then there must have been a very pleasant surprise for people.
So, at the time it was probably a pleasant surprise, but nowadays you're like...
Yeah, but that's one thing you need to understand, and that's also a personal opinion. But Hiroshi Fujioka is a very hammy actor. There I said it. Please don't burn me.
Oh.
And he just hums it up so nice. I mean, you can tell he's enjoying his time, but it sort of breaks the atmosphere a bit. I don't know.
It was a bit Showa meets Heisei, and it was a bit like...
And you can
tell... Really fit.
Yeah, exactly.
It really didn't fit.
But I guess it was a treat back then.
I imagine people who watched it were probably very happy.
Well, I got a good chuckle myself when I saw it. So.
Yeah, because I rewatched it and I was like, oh, I forgot he was in this, Fujioka. And he still looks exactly the same.
That's incredible, the hair.
Oh, that hair.
I prefer him with the more abundant hair, though. He had it trimmed like that.
Yeah, I like back in Rider 1 days. Yeah. So the movie itself, it was the first Rider movie since Shin. and Shin came out
That's quite a bit.
1992, 3.
Somewhere around that. That had been a while then.
It had been a very long while. So it's basically 8-7 years with no Rider movie. So you would expect the movie did pretty well. It did. It made 12.7 billion yen, which is about $12.7 million.
Only Japan distribution, mind you, people.
Yes.
So that you can have those numbers in perspective.
Even now, that's still a pretty big number. Out of all the Heisei Rider movies, it's the 13th highest ranking Heisei Rider movie.
Well, so far it's quite a feat. I mean, because
Yes.
there's a number of movies already out.
Yes, I think that the total list is like 36 movies, 37 movies.
That's very decent.
It's the top third. But as there had been no Rider movies for so
In
long.
spite of its flaws. I mean, but you can see the circumstance in which the movie came out. You can allow them to be a bit experimental or not, getting it right on everything.
Yeah. And they advertised it as, the first Heisei Rider movie, the first Rider movie in so long, TV version of the show. Check out these new forms. They're going to be in the movie.
New rider on the movie.
Entirely
New movie exclusive rider.
Yeah, and this was all stuff that had never been done before. So it was pretty smart, and obviously works because they're still doing it now.
Yeah.
17, 18 years later. So it worked.
One of the criticisms that I have for Agito in general, not only for the movie, is that the acting is not very good, at least in my opinion. Most of them were people that were starting, and many have had successful careers. One of them is the guy who played Makoto. His name is Jun Kaname, the one who played Makoto. He was G3. And he has had a very successful career afterwards. His acting got much better, but back then, I don't know, they were all very stiff.
I don't have a big problem with it. The kids in the show and the movie aren't great.
Well,
But that's pretty average for kids in
But
in
that
TV shows.
annoying Shoichi-kun, that's part of the Agito charm, I think. The irritant mana.
Yeah, calling out the hero's name. Like Mari. Takumi!
I don't mind that. I don't find that that annoying.
No, I like that. I actually have no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, but we are trying to be as fair as possible. We don't want to just rip the movie apart. But the weak points are very noticeable. Well, you had mentioned those. I mean, that there is really good cinematography in the movie, in general. Well, not in general. It's spotty, but there are really great shots sometimes.
The cinematography in the movie is generally pretty great, I feel, but the plot is a bit thin.
I'm still wondering what made that movie boring for me. It was written by Inoue Toshiki, traditional Kamen Rider writer. He has his issues, but pretty much the first half of Heisei was his. And it's like that because of his writing as well. And it was directed by Ryuta Tasaki.
Yeah, people rag on Inoue now for stuff later, but people forget that he is responsible for most of early Heisei Rider and the good early Heisei Rider stuff. This is not one of his best, but I'm giving G4 a lot of leeway because it was the first movie.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't watch it again anytime
But you
soon.
cannot, yeah, that is exactly. You can give it leeway, but you cannot help getting bored by something if it is boring.
Would you recommend to a fan to revisit Kamen Rider Agito Project G4?
Only for academic purposes. If you want to enjoy the movie, then there are loads others that work better, that have better pacing, everything else. If you want to just be reminded of Agito, go watch it, but you won't really enjoy it.
I'd recommend if you're watching the TV show to then watch it while, the episode 34 point or whatever it is that it came out. I recommend watching it while watching the TV show. Just so you've seen everything. But maybe don't go back to it. If you fancy some Agito, maybe check out some of the TV shows.
Your favorite episodes is much better.
Yeah.
Agito.
Feel good about that.